Hey, Foot Clan. Today's show is brought to you by PristineAuction.com, the absolute #1 source for autographed sports memorabilia. Memorabilia of all different sorts as well, like entertainment.
Not just sports.
No, it's amazing, and they have over 400 daily auctions that finish with no reserve every single day. That's how we got a lot of the gear for our studio. That's how Mike got a lot of gear for his house, and you got to go check them out, PristineAuction.com. That's PRISTINE auction.com.
Draft!
Savior of the universe.
Draft!
He's saved every one of us.
It's time for the draft!
Oh, does this just go forever?
It does,
All
if we
right.
wanted to.
Yeah, you know, let me just go on record as saying that is not the normal intro to the show. And if you're joining us for the first time, you're probably
Very confused?
confused because Mike insisted upon bringing that back from last year.
Because guess what?
What?
It's annual now.
Yeah, we do record on Thursdays. That's what that means. So the draft, this is the draft episode. I feel a little thrown off because we don't have our normal intro in there, but
We could have still done it.
yeah, just so much. It's so much. I want to get right into it today. Jason's not here with us. I'm Andy Holloway. Mike, the Fantasy Hitman Wright, is here. We are the Fantasy Footballers. -1. Jason sounds like Barry White ate Barry White. I mean, he really does. He does not sound good. He actually did. I'm going to give him credit. He came into the studio today, and he wanted to give it a go. And I don't think he knew what he sounded like. I think his spirit was there, but his voice was not. He's not doing well.
I did not get a chance to really hear it, so I'm kind of disappointed.
No, I sent him home. I sent him home before that. I said, "Look, we can take care of this. It doesn't take a lot of effort to love Latavius Murray on your behalf or things like that." So Jason is home today. We're going to preview the draft. It's going to be fun. We got some bold predictions. We're going to go through the first round. Talk about here's what I think is important, Mike, and you can tell me whether you agree. I think what's really important is not just where 3 or 4 of the big names go. I think what's actually more important to fantasy owners and what I want to focus on for today's show is the impact it has on the team and other players, depending on whether big names go to those teams. So we have a list of those guys we're going to bring up today on the show as well. So it's kind of more of a primer for the fantasy owner, not a primer for the draft fan. It's both, but it's about your fantasy team, and that's our priority. So before we get started, I do want to mention this. This is the last show we have before the deadline ends for podcastawards.com. If you want to go on there, you can nominate us. If you haven't done it, you can only do it one time. And we're asking the listeners of the show who enjoy the show, who want to support it, to go on to podcastawards.com and nominate us for the best sports podcast. And then if you want, you can nominate us for the People's Choice podcast as well.
Yes.
Which is the best overall podcast category.
In the universe.
Right, from what I can tell, in the universe. And so you can nominate us for that. That ends on the 30th, I believe.
Yeah, it's coming up here the end of April. And if we've done it,
yeah,
which
if we're nominated,
I believe the Foot Clan has assembled.
sure.
Then I think we gotta. Then the real work.
Then there'll be
comes
a
in, 'cause
voting period.
We got to
I think,
vote.
So, but we wanted to mention that. I also want to remind everybody about the draft kit that's now on the website, so you can check that out at thefantasyfootballers.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFBallers. I was praising Mike's Twitter game yesterday because he was just all up in the Twitter, answering as many questions as he could. We try to be just out there. We're regular guys. We're obsessed with fantasy football, just like you are, and so we are out there with you discussing things.
Try to be available.
Well, and more than that, I mean, you've got opinions too that factor into the way we decide and give advice, and so that's why this is more of a collective. You know, we have the Foot Clan, and Mike, myself, and Jason. We're all together on this, and so
Where else am I going to talk about my Sunday night ritual of Game of Porcelain Thrones, where I load up on just a monster junk food meal that I eat. I
Are you
consume
glad
while I
it's-
watch Thrones.
You're excited it's back, I'm sure.
Yeah, not on Monday mornings,
No,
but Sunday nights.
but sitting
It's
before the TV
great.
with a smorgasbord of 3 people's worth of dinners. So let's hop into the quick question, unless you have anything else you want to add to the.
Let's do it.
All right, so here's the quick question. I think we did this last year. I don't remember exactly whether we did or not, but bold predictions for the first round of the draft. It can be out there. It can be wild. It's pretty much a glory prediction.
Yeah, we
because,
get reckless.
and so I have mine, bold prediction for the first round. Do you want me to go ahead and tell you?
Yeah,
Okay,
you go
so,
first.
I'm going to throw this out there. It's a little wild. And maybe it's not. Maybe somebody's talked about it. I'm going to predict that Derrick Henry
Oh, okay.
is drafted with the 16th overall pick to the Detroit Lions.
What?
So, hey, bold.
Oh, I don't think.
I don't think that there's a confidence in Abdullah. You got Joique Bell out the door. Riddick is 100% a pass catcher. And
Zach Zenner.
Okay, again, my point has been made.
Oh, come on.
I don't think Zach Zenner can't. There's no potential for him. I mean,
I disagree, but
Calvin's out the door. You got
Yeah.
another big face of the franchise. It's out of left field, but Derrick Henry goes earlier than expected at number 16 to the Detroit Lions. That is my bold draft prediction, Mike.
all right, I'm going with a prediction for a team that's they made a questionable call last year, and I think they're going to double down. Indianapolis Colts are going to draft a wide receiver in the first round.
Come on.
I'm joking.
Okay. Please no.
But I would be very happy if that actually happened.
Yeah.
The
well,
ridiculousness.
just for the material for the show for the next
Right.
few weeks.
So I don't know if it's bold, but my prediction for the draft, Josh Doctson to the Bengals. I think they're going to double up on that A.J. Green type receiver, loaded up for Andy Dalton to get it done. They're going to try and overload with the offense.
So that's something we'll talk about today when we go through the teams a little bit, is the impact that type of situation might have on an Andy Dalton and where we would rank him. But let's go ahead and get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right. We talked about it. Sam Bradford. Obviously, the Eagles moved up to number 2. They're going to draft a quarterback. Sam Bradford is displeased. Mike and I and Jason talked about this in the studio a little bit. Jason's thoughts on Sam Bradford is that he's a big baby because he's looking for this trade. My opinion is that this circumstance never works out for the incumbent.
Yeah.
Sam Bradford has no potential, short of winning the Super Bowl, legitimately, I think, of being the long-term starter there. So I understand the frustration if he was told one thing. It's one thing if the Eagles say, well, he's still our guy. But it's another if, behind closed doors, you're told you're going to have this opportunity, and the Eagles are like, oh, no, you still are. We just traded our entire draft class to get a quarterback. What does
And
that
next year's.
Yeah, what does that say? So I don't think he's a big baby.
I think it just is a really unfortunate situation where I think that even if the Eagles come out hot, and let's say they're 4-2, so to speak, if anything happens to Bradford, I mean, they can have a very strong record. If Bradford gets hurt, which he is one to do, Carson Wentz will come in, and it doesn't matter how he plays. It'll be his job from then on. I mean, we saw
There are just so many ways. I brought up Kurt Warner. Kurt
Yes.
Warner started 5-1 for the Giants, lost a couple of games, and lost the job to Eli forever. And they stunk the rest of the year, but it was his job, like you said. It's just not good. I just understand. I don't know if it's really appropriate to be asking for the trade or not, or whatever that might be. And the Eagles, the news that I'm breaking today is that the Eagles agent, or the agent for Sam Bradford, said the Eagles have not given him permission to seek a trade himself.
I don't think they will.
And then the asking price seems to be too high from everything I'm hearing, Denver's inquiry for Sam Bradford and those type of things. Some people are saying maybe a 4 and a player. It's a pretty high ask.
Yeah.
So that's one bit of news. Then some Ezekiel Elliott news. The Bears, according to Ezekiel Elliott himself,
They love
him. On the Dan Patrick Show, it was reported, or Ezekiel Elliott said the Bears loved him.
What do you think about that? What do you think about Zeke? Eazy-E Elliott rides with the Bears. Would you Would
Yeah,
you
I
like
mean,
that?
if we wanted to lay down odds on where Zeke goes, I think
think
that
that-
might be kind of fun.
I think that's strong.
Um,
And I like him there.
So out of the top, we agree he's going in the top 12,
Where
13, 14 picks. Let's
see
just
those-
say out of the top 14 picks in the draft,
Yeah,
how
I'll
many
go-
teams could draft Ezekiel Elliott? We've got Dallas at 4.
I'd say he doesn't make it past the Raiders at 14.
Right, that's why I said the top 14.
I thought you said 12.
No, I said
Okay.
top 14 picks. So possible teams: Dallas. We'll go with Cleveland at 8. We'll say he could also go to the Giants at 10, the Bears at 11,
and Dolphins
and the Dolphins at 13, and the Raiders at
Yep.
14. So if we were breaking down those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that might draft Elliott, barring a trade up and somebody else, where do you put the favorite? Who's the favorite of that group to you?
My favorite of the group.
Not your favorite.
Yeah, no.
The favorite of who you actually think is going to draft him.
I think he'll end up on the Giants.
Okay,
I
so
think
you
it'll be
would
a
put that.
giant-
What percentage chance of the Giants? If you,
I'm gonna
how,
go-
how confident?
I'm gonna go 40%.
40%.
I will take a 40%.
Now I'm the one in the office that actually thinks he could go to Dallas at 4.
Yeah,
I'm the one who thinks that he's.
I put that. Would give your percentage of Dallas.
I'm gonna go 30%.
Okay,
30% chance Dallas, and I'm gonna say 30% chance of the Browns, and then I'll give the Giants. I'll give the Giants 20 and the Bears 20, and then I don't think the Dolphins or Raiders get him without trading up. Let's put it that way.
Okay, I can see that. I just don't see the Cowboys spending that pick on him. I mean, the Chargers and the
look,
Cowboys.
you saw Dan Snyder. He shelled it out for Norman. He's returned to his ways. I think, his sponsor was Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones was keeping it.
Jerry Jones has changed his ways. I think.
Just like Dan Snyder.
No,
He never changed.
no,
There
he
just
didn't.
wasn't a Hainsworth available in the last couple off seasons. So
Jones has just made the right choices lately, and I mean the Chargers and the Cowboys, so ridiculous that the two guys. I mean, they're not going to draft Goff or Wentz. You just they're gifted, these two top players, that a pick of the litter, so to speak. I would be so happy if I was a Cowboys fan right now.
now Jacksonville and Baltimore and San Francisco are not really a concern for drafting a running back. Dallas could
No.
move down to 7 to get Elliott potentially.
With
So
the 49ers?
Yeah, with the 49ers.
And so they would be
So the 49ers, if the Ravens or 49ers want to come up and get one of those elite non-quarterbacks, just another thing to throw out there.
Yeah.
This is more of a speculative thought, but there's also reports of Miami potentially trading up for either Miles Jack from Notre Dame, right? Or UCLA, I mean.
Yes.
And then Ohio State running back Ezekiel Elliott as well. So there's a lot of publicity around Elliott. We talked to Matthew Friedman,
Yes.
and I share his opinion about Henry being an impact, high-volume, fantasy impacting type of running back. So I think that he could be more the steal because he could end up in a better situation to Detroit at number 16. No, we'll see. So we'll go ahead and get into the draft preview here in a second.
Is that all
That's
all
all
our
the
news?
news. That's all we got.
So before we get into our full draft preview, we want to remind the Foot Clan about Reality Sports Online. Have you ever wished you could be an NFL general manager? Well, now you can, thanks to Reality Sports Online, a powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. Reality Sports Online was created by former NFL front office personnel and features a revolutionary free agency auction room which mimics NFL free agency, enabling fantasy owners to negotiate and sign the NFL's top talent to single or multi-year contracts. The platform can host up to 32 teams and has tons of other cool features in addition to free agency, like a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, injured reserved, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Test your general manager skills for free at realitysportsonline.com in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, and you will, use the promo code BALLERS to receive 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com.
And that's cool stuff. That's really neat. I've always been a fan of the hyper realistic and taking that a step further. And I like the idea of being in like a really involved 32-person league. That's what I would jump into.
It is
right
gnarly.
There. So let's go ahead and get into the draft preview. I guess that's what we're calling this. We're going to walk through some of the team needs, some of the impacts or impact situations, positions that could very well be impacted by the draft tonight. Which it's here.
Yeah. Oh man.
We've seen that.
Oh,
What?
I got to give out the sausage dip. So
Oh, well, okay.
we can.
So if you weren't with us last year, Mike likes to give away the sausage dip
I had some
recipe.
more requests actually.
Yeah.
That people wanted here. So here it is, Foot Clan.
This is a staple at every draft party that we've been at.
Ultimate sausage dip. This is all you need to do. You go buy a pound of sweet Italian sausage. You're gonna brown half of it. You get a block of cream cheese, Philadelphia cream cheese. You get 1 can of Rotel mild. You throw that all in a crock pot, and you're good to go. And you were gonna wow people with this dip.
Yeah, you can put it right in the crock pot. So, all right, let's go ahead and start in the AFC East. How's that sound?
Like the best place to start.
All right. So we've got the Bills, the Pats, the Dolphins, the Jets. The teams looking for some offensive weapons seem to be the Bills and the Patriots.
Yeah.
We also, if the Dolphins were to, they're one of the teams where if they drafted Ezekiel Elliott, traded up for Ezekiel Elliott, Jay Ajayi, where do you drop him? I mean, where do you have him now? Where does he go in the event that they draft a running back?
If they don't draft a running back like Easy E, I like Ajayi, man. I like the opportunity. The guys.
Do you think it's teams? Coach speak from Gaze to say he likes Ajayi, or do you think
of course. I mean, everything at this point coming into the draft is coach speak, especially when you're trying to smokescreen who your pick is going to be.
Yeah, that's the problem.
However, I think Ajayi can get it done. You saw him in college. In college was just an absolute dominant machine, and I think he's got enough. If you give him the opportunity, he can produce somewhat similar to Lamar Miller. I think Miller is
from a fantasy side.
Yeah, from the fantasy point.
So it's hard to see them not drafting a running back in the draft. The
It's
question
just,
is,
will it be an impact
yeah,
guy?
is it going to be what if it's somebody further down the list like a Kenneth Dixon or a Pro Size from Notre Dame? Does that make you think that those guys come in as the
guy?
two?
Yeah,
where
I
Ajayi
would,
stays the one.
Well, especially Pro Size, but I think they would. I think Ajayi would likely be the guy in that event. He could get passed by the end of the year, but it would likely be a timeshare with those two guys.
Now, do you know offhand where you have Jay Ajayi in your rankings today?
Offhand, I do not.
Because I want to look that up and just kind of see what kind of where you have him projected. You have him. He's a little way down here.
Yeah, I think I had.
There's a big disparity there. Who's really high on him? Is that me? Yeah. Okay.
I had anticipated that they would be making a move with all the.
So you just ranked him in line with another pick. I have him at 18.
Wow.
You guys have him at 40.
Yeah. Because I had him as a backup.
See, I guess I rated him as if
the starter.
Yeah, as the starter today. So, what's funny is that I clearly did the opposite with Rashad Jennings. Which Rashad Jennings I have at 40, you have at 21.
Yeah, I love Jennings.
Probably the exact same situation where I just don't think he'll end up getting the lion's share, and you do. So let's talk about the Bills. We know Percy Harvin won't be there.
Oh,
we know they have a need at wide receiver. I don't think they love, other than Sammy Watkins, I don't think they really love anything they have. They lost Hogan.
Woods.
I mean, Woods is fine. Okay, Woods is he doesn't get you up in the morning.
That is almost worse than saying someone is bad. You're like, well, it's fine.
Here's the deal. Woods is fine, and if you put him in Cleveland, he'd probably be the number one.
Hey, how dare you?
Is that Brian Hartline's?
That's Brian Hartline's territory.
What kind of an impact does it have on Tyrod Taylor? I feel like people are very split in the fantasy community on Tyrod Taylor. I was listening to, I think it was the CBS Sports podcast with Azer and Eisenberg, where I think Jamie really, really likes Tyrod Taylor as a sleeper this year. And I understand, right? Like he had low pass attempts, still produced as a pretty upper echelon type of quarterback, missed a couple games. If you project that over the whole season, he's got a better numbers, probably in the top 10, I think, top 12. I just think that the quantity of passes will not come up.
Yeah.
But does another wide receiver in the draft change that at all for you?
No. It would just be, I think it would be create that fool's gold situation where you are going to make a strong narrative assumption about Rex Ryan, a guy who has proven for years and years and years as a coach that the high volume of passing just won't be there. So I just,
and to me,
they'll take a receiver, but it won't be
up high.
It won't be a notable guy.
Okay. So let's talk about then the Jets as the last piece here. We know they didn't use the tight end at all last year. I mean, it was
Jason Amaro.
Non-existent. I mean,
Amaro, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, or not at all. I love that from a fantasy perspective. It was just like so clear who the end zone targets were every single game. It wasn't hard to predict. You didn't have to.
No, because you just say who's going to score? Eric Decker
or Brandon Marshall. That's all it was. I mean, you just said one of those two guys were going to score if they were passing in the red zone. That being said, is tight end a position where, I think we talked about it before. It doesn't really make a difference.
I don't think he'll be schemed in. And on top of that, we talked with Friedman. There's no buzz for tight ends. There's no Max 6'6" Williams.
Hunter Henry out of Arkansas is the only name that really gets talked about.
So if you're talking, I guess maybe dynasty, somebody goes there and then in 5 years they become someone of note, but you probably need to look elsewhere.
All right, let's talk about the AFC South, the Texans, Colts, Jags, and Titans. Now, the one that really intrigues me is the team I've been kind of behind from a fantasy perspective this offseason, which may surprise the universe because they were so bad last year. But that's part of the puzzle, right? Like you can't – nowhere to go but up. And that's Tennessee.
See, the problem with nowhere to go but up, that's true. But there is a complete chance to just stay where you are. Okay. Lateral.
Well,
lateral movement.
You're right, but that would have to take for the Titans to go lateral. Then you're saying that Rashard Mathews, the two additions to the offensive line, Mariota's second season, and DeMarco Murray, and what I think will be a very high wide receiver draft pick again, have no impact. And so I am projecting those guys.
You think they'll take a wideout?
I do.
Really?
I think they'll take a wideout very early. I do. I think that they will take one, and I think they want to do what Tampa's doing to equip their investment with the best weapons they can, and I think they need one. I think Harry Douglas is done. Dunzo.
Right. Well, Douglas, but I mean, the starters, you got Dorial Green-Beckham, and now you have Rashard Mathews.
Yeah, and you got injury-prone Kendall Wright.
Yeah, and Wright is still there. I don't know. I would be pretty shocked. Teams do that. The thing about the draft is no matter how many mock drafts the experts do, something crazy happens every single year. Like a Christian Ponder going top 10 to the Vikings, the Rams drafting Todd Gurley, which I don't think I saw a single person say, "Oh, the Rams, they're a player."
Almost like Derrick Henry going to like the Lions at number 16.
But now you've said it, so it can't happen.
No, I'm jumping all over this. I'm gonna put a whole show's worth of strong confirming thoughts about this, and then when it happens, I'm gonna look amazing. I'm gonna get tweets all over the place when Derrick Henry goes off the board at 16 tonight. Get ready, people.
Oh.
Hashtag genius.
Okay. I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
The Titans, I'm letting the sour feelings about the Titans bring the draft position of guys I like down. I think DeMarco goes lower than he should. I think Mariota goes lower than he should. I don't know about Delaney Walker yet because I hear about him blocking more and those type of things. But just throwing it out there. So you got the Jags, the Colts, and the Texans. Is there something you want to talk about with the needs of those teams? You made the joke about the Colts taking a wide receiver. They could take a running back.
Yeah. They absolutely could take a running back.
They probably not in the first round.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Trent Richardson has had a lasting impact on that franchise.
They're just Anyways, Texans. I think the Texans will take a receiver high. I think they're a team that needs it. You have Hopkins and Jaelen Strong with.
Do you think he's just a flop?
Strong?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's a guy who I was when we were starting to research and get everything ready for next year. He's a guy who I kind of liked. Because he had a kind of like a burst showing towards the end of the year. And then he had a showing on TMZ.com, so which we don't.
That's never good.
We don't know.
I never want to be on TMZ.com ever.
I don't know what the fallout is yet from that situation, which you never know. You never know with Goodell what's going to happen. So it could be a few games here for Strong at the beginning, but the Texans just overall they need another weapon besides Hopkins
to help Osweiler.
Right, and their defense is so stout. I mean, you can always add to the defense, but you pay Brock Osweiler, a guy who's played 5 games, you give him $70-something million. You're going to want to put him in a place where he can succeed.
So
throwing the ball.
Talk to me about this. If a Corey Coleman, Doctson, if Sterling Shepard ends up in Houston. Now, I was looking at some stats on Houston's pass attempts last year. They were actually their quarterbacks averaged 2 more pass attempts per game than even Aaron Rodgers did.
Yeah, well, because they had that weird thing where they were out-snapping everyone for the first half of the year.
But projecting a possible impact destination for a wideout, is Houston a good one? Because everybody's got their eyes on Hopkins, but you did have, like, last year you had, what was it? Not Nate Washington, right? But Cecil Shorts had some games. Right. You had other receivers have the ability, but you had so many different revolving door type of situations.
Yeah, they didn't have the lockdown number 2 guy. You put, I don't know if the Foot Clan would agree with me, but you put Coleman on the Texans, a guy who can just burn it and let Brock Osweiler's kind of cover up some of his inconsistencies, let Coleman track it down. That's interesting to me. You pair him with Hopkins. I think there'd be some nice fantasy opportunity for him. And
early in the draft, we don't see Jacksonville doing anything with the offensive side of the ball, D-tackle, maybe outside linebacker. So
yeah,
I
fix that defense.
I skipped the NFC East on accident. So let's circle back there to the Cowboys, the Redskins, the Eagles, and the Giants. Let me start with Philly because, my favorite player in the world's on that team. You know who that is?
Oh, it's Nelson Agholor. Agholor.
Right. Now, here, the reason I'm bringing that up is because if, much like Houston, if you don't believe you really got the guy you hoped, if Jaelen Strong isn't the guy you hoped when you drafted that early, if Agholor isn't the guy you hoped he is, which I don't know if that's a Chip Kelly effect, he just didn't fit, or if he really isn't, they could go wide receiver early as well.
Well, they've filled that need in free agency, Andy.
Oh, great.
Rueben Randle is there.
He's the next Miles Austin on Philadelphia. That's what that is.
He's at least O'Reilly Cooper.
Yeah. Well, here's what we know. The Eagles, the conversation should be around Carson Wentz. And how does Carson Wentz impact? Because they're going to take him at number 2, unless it's Goff, in which case you better like the fact you got Goff if you're Philly.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Ryan Mathews. No longer looks like he's going to compete with Ezekiel Elliott, at least.
I love Ryan Mathews.
You're pounding your fist.
I have been a Ryan Mathews apologist for years.
You have been.
And I really hope he gets the shot in this Doug Peterson running back focused system to show what he could. Ryan Mathews is a great pass catcher.
Yeah.
He looks spectacular when he's getting in space. He can do... I just think he's a very talented running back, and I really hope he gets the opportunity because he will be great for their team, and he will be great for fantasy.
I have to bring up Zach Ertz because Zach Ertz clearly was building a rapport with Bradford at the end of the season, and that played a part in how we projected Ertz. Now, he's going to have to come down for me. I just don't have the same confidence level of Wentz. If Wentz gets to start, if Bradford is out the door, Zach Ertz is going to drop in my rankings.
If we didn't get there, do you think Bradford starts the year as the quarterback?
I don't.
Really? You think they're all going Wentz or whoever?
I don't think that they necessarily want to. I think they'd like to start with Bradford. I think they'd like to give him it could be a Wentz Chase Daniel competition. But my point is this: at least as of right now, Bradford seems to be digging in, why wouldn't you go after him? I mean, I know a 4 in a player might seem high, but if you need a quarterback,
yeah, but
why?
Is Bradford that guy? I mean,
well, he might not find a taker this offseason. That might be the problem. So I'm going to say that 50-50 that he starts the season. But that doesn't make me feel great about drafting Zach Ertz as high as I have him projected right now. That's the point. So he's going to come down a little bit. I like Ertz. I like the talent. But there's a new head coach and maybe a new quarterback. And that's a variable. I'd rather be drafting, obviously, like a Jordan Reed.
Well, that's a big
given,
disparity.
but probably a Kelsey with the
Okay.
consistency of that offense and where they ended last year. Kelsey, if his touchdown numbers come up, is a great player.
Yeah.
And so I'm just putting the Ertz shade out there because of the changeover.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
What do you think of the defending champions of the division? How dare you laugh?
I'm laughing because I actually had to think about who it was.
That would be the Washington.
Yeah, now I remember. It's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as drafting, I don't think
You're going to see.
there was all these off-season rumors of Garcon will be out, these weird ones of cutting DeSean Jackson. I think they're pretty much set there, with in Crowder. Oh, Crowder.
Does Washington draft a quarterback later, mid-rounds, because of the franchise situation with Cousins?
I would say no.
You don't think Gruden wants to get his own hand-picked guy in the background there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking 4th, 5th round, a guy who's just going to be a backup or bust out the league. I mean, they have Colt McCoy there who's shown he's a more than capable backup when they need him to come in. I don't think they'll waste the pick there.
And are you convinced they're done at running back? Or is this all?
That one is
because they could be another surprise team that takes
one
a
is
high
interesting to
running
me
back.
Because it's, the Matt Jones show as of now, but is it really? I mean,
is that the same story as Ajayi?
Yeah,
showing outward confidence in a guy that had his problems last year. Matt Jones was very inconsistent, and he had fumbling issues, and he doesn't offer you everything that
Ajayi was. I don't think he had enough of an opportunity.
Right.
Where you're talking about Matt Jones, who lost 4 fumbles in 144 attempts. I mean, you know me. I'm the guy who I don't like to punish a running back if they have a fumble here and there. But he was reckless at the least with the ball.
Okay, and let's make the presumption now when we talk about the Giants that Ezekiel Elliott does go to that offense. What is the impact on Eli, ODB, the framework of how that team runs?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Jennings this year just because of value.
Opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And you can get him late. He'll be a starting running back. But if Elliott went there, that would just be tremendous for me. The Giants are one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Eli has found his groove with McAdoo in there, and McAdoo is now the head coach. So I think that that's a fully pumping offense that would see a nice uptick if you get a guy like Elliott in there who can do it all, and crush it. You don't have to have these. I know they spent money on Shane Vereen, but you don't have to have these situations where you bring in Vereen and they're going to throw the ball. If you have this 3-down guy in Elliott who can do everything, that opens things up and your offense becomes even better. So I would love it. I would love the fantasy value of him up there as well.
I think the Giants win the division.
Okay.
I want to put that out there right now. I think I would think that even more if Tom Coughlin was still there. I was a big Coughlin fan. But you do have McAdoo just coming into that role from the offensive coordinator position. I think they're going to win the division. So I'm throwing it out there. All right, let's move on to the NFC South. The Saints, Buccaneers, Panthers, and Falcons. All right, what's the highlight here from this division? What are you expecting to see? Is this a division where one of those big wide receivers, a Will Fuller, Michael,
I don't know.
are they landing here?
I don't really see any of these teams adding that big, sexy fantasy piece. I mean, you have the Saints. They got to fix that defense. I know it was better down the stretch once they got rid of the Silver Fox.
I think they've made a lot of offseason improvements. They're another team I like with what they've done this offseason, along with the Giants.
That's fair. And I mean, the Buccaneers, maybe if they're going to look for a guy to replace Vincent Jackson in the long term.
Sure.
I'm not talking. You're not saying a first, second round guy, but maybe a third round type of a guy, which you can still get fantasy production. I mean, John Brown was drafted in the 3rd round. You can find capable receivers in that area.
What about the Panthers with their hodgepodge of very effective wide receivers last year? You also had Cameron Artis-Payne, who never really developed into that secret possible weapon. Didn't really step up.
Well, I mean, they have a pretty glaring hole now that they decided that Josh Norman needed to hit the bricks. I mean, they're not a super deep team at defensive back, so I imagine that's where they're going to go early in the draft. But as far as running back, Cameron Artis-Payne, I think they saw enough of Artis-Payne to know what he is. I don't think he can turn into the heir apparent for J-Stu, so maybe they look for that guy.
The Saints draft at the 12th pick. The Buccaneers have the 9th pick. Carolina's back at number 30, obviously. And then who am I forgetting here? Atlanta. Atlanta has the 17th pick in the draft. I think the Falcons focus early on defense, and so I don't think you're going to see, they added Mohamed Sanu in the offseason.
Yeah, they did.
They have Julio Jones, they have Freeman, and they have Coleman. I don't expect one of those big guys to go there. Let's move on to the AFC North. And let's talk about the what? Who did I forget?
No, you didn't forget anyone. You just said the Bengals. That's my Doctson landing spot.
So let's start there. Let's talk about Cincinnati. They got the 24th pick. I assume they'd have to use that on Doctson.
Yeah. Oh, and there's reports of that the wide receivers are going to slip. I'm trying to recall the analyst who said that Daniel Jeremiah, I believe he was from NFL. The network, he talked about he has some sources telling him that a receiver will not go in the top 20. Now, I think that would be shocking if that happened. The Bengals would be very excited if that happened, and that where they get to kind of choose their guy and not take the leftover. But Treadwell,
when you look at what's there, like the picks, because you know that Treadwell's not going. I don't think he's going in that top 10.
Right.
And
if
you
the
look
Giants
at
don't take him.
Right. Yeah. And so then you look at 11 through 20, which is that prediction you were just saying. I don't know where the landing spot would be unless Tennessee uses the 15th.
There's no way.
He's not going. No one's going to Oakland. That early.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fair prediction. Then you start talking about Houston.
You get a
at
run
22.
Here. You get a
Minnesota at 23. Yeah. Cincy at 24. Those guys are going to fight for that top wide receiver potentially.
I imagine we'll see one of those teams make a small move up, like the Vikings or the Bengals. Just try and jump up to 19 or 20 to grab the wide receiver. But I mean, a guy like Doctson, Treadwell. I mean, those guys are very interesting to me if you put them on the Bengals. Now,
what you like about that is you had a very good offense and a system in place that
very efficient offense, yes.
Right, and Hugh Jackson left, but Dalton was very, very efficient before he got hurt. You have stability with Eifert and A.J. Green, and so that's the best case scenario for a new wide receiver to come in and make a big impact. Is you have to make A.J. Green your priority one.
Yes.
You're not coming in like Agholor did last year. He basically came in as the number one outside receiver, and you had to adjust to the NFL game in that circumstance, and that's not ideal. We thought it would be because it's Chip Kelly, but the wheels fell off. So I think that's a good perspective. Where do you see Dalton? I mean, Jason and I are
you guys are
quite divided on Dalton,
and I'm much closer to Jason.
Yeah,
he was great. I mean, he was the number one quarterback.
You have him
for
just
a while.
outside your top 12 right now.
Green is there. Eifert is there. I mean, what did he lose? Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu? Okay, that's fine. You can replace that in the draft. I just think you have the pieces are there. Gio Bernard still there, great pass catching back. I think Jeremy Hill improves. I was just looking at rushing numbers, and for guys who had the most attempts, in the league, Jeremy Hill was so bad. I mean, not that you need to be reminded because we all remember visually how bad it was, but not just visually, the numbers were rough. I mean, him and an interesting comparison that I saw just real quick, him and Alfred Morris were essentially the same exact guy. Morris, I think, slightly better. However, Jeremy Hill had, the double-digit touchdowns, and Morris, I think, had one. But if all you did was flip the touchdowns, they're the same guy.
That's incredible. Which just, I think that speaks very negatively to Jeremy Hill.
Yeah. Oh, that was a horrific year.
So, one other thing I want to mention is Baltimore could be a team where I see, they drafted number 6. So I don't think they're going offense there in terms of like a fantasy impact player. But they could be a team that if the wide receivers start to drop, could move up and grab one due to their, the tumult at the position. We have your guy.
Yeah, my boy. I still like him.
Did you see Steve Smith went to the prom with that girl? Did you see that video?
Because Steve Smith is the man.
I love Steve Smith.
I
really do.
He is a good dude.
He really is. That was a cool video. So Steve Smith is supposedly coming back.
Yeah, well.
Rashad Perryman, we've yet to see.
I didn't watch how were his dance moves with his
and Mike Wallace
double
is there.
ruptured
I don't think
Achilles.
they come up for a wide receiver. Yeah, I know. His dance moves look good until he went down. No. And then you have the Browns. They're a possible destination. I said it to Matthew Friedman for Derrick Henry to end up in Cleveland.
The thing about the Browns is if you look, okay, what is the position of need for the Browns? Every single position.
Quarterback, wide receiver, running back, defensive line, linebacker, offensive line.
I mean,
I think the one position they
the
have
Browns.
filled is the head coach. The head coach they filled.
Oh yeah, it's because you're Hugh Jackson.
I am. I like Hugh
fanboy.
Jackson. All right, we need to move on here into the last 3 divisions, and we're gonna have to abridge these. That way we can get to some mailbag as well. But the NFC North, the Vikings, Packers, Lions, and Bears. I've made the bold prediction. Derrick Henry, lock it in. Going to the Lions. It's a done deal. I heard my sources. I like how we have the Lions' needs written down, and there are no offensive positions on the list. They signed Marvin Jones. We have offensive tackle, but we don't have any of the
skill players.
Where Derrick Henry might fit in.
Yeah, well,
Which is incredible to know he's going there for sure. The Packers.
I like how this is escalated.
You went from bold prediction to guarantee.
Listen, folks. We make these crazy predictions at the beginning of the draft, and now I know for 100% certainty that Henry will be a Detroit Lion.
Well, we're talking about a guarantee here, an absolute.
Oh no!
Bona fide.
No, Derrick Henry.
That's trouble.
Derrick Henry needs to hit the isolation chamber immediately.
You'll be all right in Detroit, Derek. You'll be all right. Let's talk about
That is so ominous.
Yeah, I don't even.
Derrick Henry, you'll be just fine in Detroit.
All right, let's talk wide receiver for the Vikings. That's someplace that I know wide receiver is landing. But is it a Treadwell? Is it a Coleman, Doctson, Fuller,
Doesn't
Shepard,
matter.
Thomas? Here's what I think. Minnesota is the number 1 destination for me for a wide receiver. Number 1. Because Stefon Diggs, I think he's a really good player. I don't know if he's a 1. And if you brought in a high-impact wide receiver, the Vikings are the team in which he could make a huge impact right away. I know that Bridgewater isn't flashy. I know the running game and the defense is what makes that team go, but this is a division-winning offense within a quarterback that's growing up. And if you put a bigger guy there, right now Minnesota drafts at 23. If Treadwell was to drop into the late teens and Minnesota hopped up to get a big guy like Treadwell, I think that's a 8 to 10 touchdown potential wide receiver in year 1.
Yeah, that's fair. Curious because the Vikings wide receiver position is just so gross. Do you even know who the number 2 is?
Is it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's-
Jerry's right.
yeah.
And then, I mean, then
Kyle Rudolph is waving his hand over in the corner saying, "This is my year."
and Cordarrelle, meanwhile, is running really, really fast.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
Well, not really anymore with the kickoff rules. Not very often.
oh.
All right, the Bears need a pass rusher. They might draft a mid-round quarterback, in my opinion. They have Jeremy Langford, but they've made attempts at C.J. Anderson. So does Chicago fall into that? Where do you put Langford in all circumstances? So right now, where do you have him, and where do you have Langford if they draft an early running back? They're sitting there at 11. I got him down for a 20% chance at Ezekiel Elliott.
If they get Elliott, Langford is a backup. And
Yeah, a big-time backup.
yeah, and not like I think it'll be a timeshare, 60-40.
Now, this is John Fox. This could be
he does.
I would think if Ezekiel Elliott's drafted by the Bears, Langford starts game 1. That is my prediction.
Oh,
That's my guarantee. Sorry. That's my guarantee.
yeah, he'll come in for snap number 1, and then they'll take him out just because he's John Fox and he's.
I think they'll leave him in for early part of the season. That's that kind of coach.
I
I would be worried. That's a worry for me. Like, Elliott will succeed in Chicago, but I worry about the transition to success there.
I wish I could attend the meetings that John Fox has. Like the last year, Forte goes down. All signs, everyone knows that Jeremy Langford is going to be the starting running back because you got I can't even remember who's the backup. I can't even remember his name. The kid from U of A.
Now you're making me space out here. Wow, this is
Kadeem
terrible.
Carey.
Kadeem Carey. Yeah, thank you.
So everyone knows it's Langford.
And then Twitter explodes.
And John Fox has this. I just imagine this chalkboard because he's not on anything. He's not on a whiteboard yet. He's on a chalkboard, the green. There's chalk dust everywhere. He has broken pieces of chalk, and he has written up an entire thesis of why starting Kadeem Carey will give his team an edge.
He might not be on chalkboard. He
An
might be on one of
edge.
those projectors.
Oh,
that
the
we had
overhead?
the overhead projectors from school with the screens you put on there and you wipe them off.
Oh, that's too high tech for Fox.
And it says 10 ways to throw off the press this week. Number 1, White might be back. Kevin White may start.
It's just what?
Oh,
And
Foxy.
And I wish he had the mustache because he would just sit and he would twist his mustache like Snidely Whiplash.
He can't grow one.
From Dudley Do-Right.
Can't grow it.
Yes, Kadeem Carey. Yeah, we have them fooled.
I think you can put him in the category of head coaches that probably won't appear on our show. John Fox. Unless he can get a competitive advantage, in which case we'll bring him on. So, AFC West, Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, and Raiders. This division is wide open. It is. It's wide open. I think the Chargers and the Raiders will be improved this year.
Yeah.
I think that the Chiefs are a good team.
Yes.
And I think that the Broncos have a lot of question marks and might be able to put it all together again because defense lets you do that.
It does. I mean, you lost some pretty key pieces to that defense, and you
You've got a good head coach, and you
have butt fumble throwing the ball.
You don't like butt fumble.
But Mark Sanchez, the butt fumble, throws so many freaking interceptions.
I don't know why I like him.
I don't either.
I like him
I
in
have
this
no
situation.
idea.
I feel like in this situation he can succeed.
I mean, if you have
because Peyton Manning did, and Peyton Manning was awful.
Yeah, I feel like they
And Osweiler's
snuck out
awful.
some
I don't think
games.
Osweiler's very good either.
The Texans.
So
disagree.
Sanchez is perfect for this team. Don't you see?
But Osweiler doesn't turn the ball over at the same clip. as
No,
Mark
that
Sanchez.
would be the problem.
And he does, man.
You're right. No, he does. He throws interceptions. So let's start with Denver. They brought back C.J. Anderson. They re-signed his favorite running mate,
Oh, Ronnie Hillman.
Ronnie
Yes,
Hillman.
But I mean, this is all a moot point since the starting quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, for the Denver Broncos will be happening on later today for the draft day trade.
So if you haven't listened to the show, you know that there's a hanging bet debate about Colin Kaepernick being either the starting quarterback for the 49ers or not. I just got to make it through the draft, man. I just got to get through the draft. I think what you want to see if you are a fan of C.J. Anderson or the fantasy prospects of the running game is you want to see the Broncos use some picks on the offensive line to solidify what they've lost. They obviously got rid of Clady. They lost some other pieces. I believe the guard. Who'd they lose the guard to? Tennessee?
No, we got wow, man, names are just not happening for me today.
So they've lost some
Evan
pieces. Evan Mathis. The Chargers, I don't see, they could take a wide receiver in the mid rounds, but I don't see anything worthy of talking about right now. The Chiefs are in that category too. What if one of those mid-range guys, not Treadwell, maybe not Doctson, but another mid-range guy, Fuller, Shepard, they land in Kansas City, other side of Jeremy Maclin. I think Maclin is injury prone.
Yeah.
So that could be another destination for a wide receiver.
I'm not sure they would. I mean, you have Albert Wilson there, who I
like him. Yeah, I like him too.
I like him. And then they Chris Conley, they had drafted him last year with a pretty high pick. So I'm not sure that they're going to be looking to add a high value pick at that position.
Albert Wilson should be a sleeper if they don't. He should be a really strong
He's
sleeper.
on my list. The bird alert. If you're on Twitter and you we're dinging over here. If you're on Twitter and you're into sports Twitter, you know about the bird alert. We throw them out anytime that Wilson does anything.
All right, so anything else from that division? The Raiders, let's talk about Latavius Murray for a second. Jason's favorite player in the world. The Raiders draft at 14. Could they go Derrick Henry?
At 14?
Yeah, let's say Zeke goes earlier. Zeke goes at 8, someone trades up, or he goes to Cleveland.
I guess it's a possibility. I mean,
I think the Raiders probably just solidify the offensive line.
I think if Elliott's there, they'll take him. Otherwise, they will move along. Nothing to see here, people.
All right. Speaking of moving along, last division to review real quick before we get into the mailbag: the Cardinals, the Rams, the 49ers, and the Seahawks. The NFC West. Look, the Rams are taking.
Goff or Wentz.
Oh, I thought it was tight end. They're not going tight end number 1, Hunter Henry. They are taking Goff, I think. Welcome to L.A. They need a wide receiver as well, but they have a really great running back. Do you project Gurley any differently with Keenum than you would Goff?
Nope.
Do you project him any better?
Nope.
Do you try to not mentally picture the quarterback position for the St. Louis Rams or the Los Angeles Rams at all?
I just hope that they go Miami.
I'm excited for Hard Knocks because of that.
Oh, I forgot.
Because of Goff coming in.
I forgot. The Rams are Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tremendous.
It is. You've got L.A., you got Fisher. So he'll have – you talk about putting something up on the whiteboard or the chalkboard, 8-8 is written right up at the top.
I cannot wait for the beach shots of Jeff Fisher because he wears one of those 1920s, the full uniform.
There is no
swimwear.
chance he doesn't have the white
the zinc?
On the nose.
The zinc is on the nose. The zinc is on his entire face.
Yeah.
Because he protects. He protects his face.
Yeah. And he goes out with the punter. The punter's who he goes to the beach with. All right, so
I just see him playing beach volleyball, high-fiving people like in Top Gun, puffing his chest.
He said, I knew this St. Louis thing was going to work out.
Him and John Fox playing beach volleyball.
Yeah.
We need to make this happen.
The Cardinals are solidified at wide receiver. I don't think there's anything that will happen of any sort for the Cardinals that you'd be excited about in fantasy.
Well, we'll throw it out here. There's rumors in the bushes of a Michael Floyd trade, which
it's stupid rumors, though.
I agree, but the people need to hear about these things, and our perspective on that is it is.
So, what are you hearing
crazy
about the trade, though? To move up and grab somebody?
I have no idea. It's
Okay.
just there's someone.
It's all
floated
because
out
of
here.
It's all because of the contract situation with Michael Floyd.
Yes,
They're just talking about the fact that from the outside, I think the world sees Michael Floyd's contract situation, what's going on with Fitzgerald and John Brown, and the money tied up with other players, and they say, oh, he's a prime candidate to trade, get another cheaper option at the position. But I don't think those people realize that Arizona is all in this year. I mean, this could be Larry Fitzgerald's last year, Carson Palmer's long in the tooth, Michael Floyd.
He's only got one tooth.
He's got 1 tooth. So I don't buy into those personally.
I agree.
But it's worth mentioning. And then you got the 49ers. They are drafting at number 7. You know.
They're going to need to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, but you can't take Paxton Lynch at 7. Can you?
Yes.
Yes, you can. If you can draft Goff and Wentz at 1-2, you can draft Lynch at 7.
If we could get Paxton Lynch and Blaine Gabbert, they're basically going to be the same guy. Get them on a team together. Tremendous.
Yeah. Does that mean that Kaepernick's gone, obviously?
Yeah, that's what I'm living
That's
in
all
that
you're trying
world.
to do. Wide receiver someplace that I would expect them. You know, do you buy into the Chip Kelly 49ers? Put a Josh Doctson there, put a Treadwell there.
It could be interesting. I mean, that team is so full of holes all over the place. I don't know if you can do that on a skill player at pick number 7. But I'm throwing it out there again. I buy into the Chip Kelly system with Torrey Smith. Okay, you can go ahead and snore.
No,
But,
he's a sleeper.
oh.
No, I was snoring. Yeah, that had nothing to do with being a sleeper.
Torrey Smith. If Torrey Smith is the number 1, so this is perfect for the draft show, because if a guy like Treadwell, a notable wide receiver, goes in there, that could change things a little bit. But you'll see him in the draft kit of my very sound reasoning and logic for liking Torrey Smith this year.
I'm going to skip that reading. No, that's it for our kind of off-the-cuff overview of the draft and the impact that it could have on some of the existing players as well as the guys coming in. I'm excited for it, that's for sure. We're going to try to sneak in a few mailbag questions before we finish the show.
Mailbag.
Yeah.
All right, if you have a question, go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click the Submit a Question button. Check us out on Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can also call our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. Got some good questions today. I'm going to bust through a few of these.
All right.
Jimmy the Kid in Saskatoon, Canada.
Saskatoon.
Bonjour.
Oh.
I am in a dynasty and I have 3 quarterbacks, and all 3 have a bye week on the same week, Cutler, Cousins, and Dalton. What should I do? Because there are no quarterbacks on waivers at all. Should I trade one, and who should I trade? Also for who?
Wow.
So if you're in that situation, what do you do? I think you do try to trade somebody, so we need to give them a priority on guys that we don't necessarily have confidence in here.
Well, of those guys, Dalton would seem to be your most secure long-term guy who's actually going to be starting for his team. Cutler, this could be Cutler's last ride in Chicago this year. If he doesn't do something strong for that team this year, I think it will be. I think Cutler will be gone. And Cousins is an enigma, man. Last year.
We haven't projected lower than a lot of people because we don't know for sure.
Well, it was a second half of the year thing where it was great. And Cousins was actually a solid quarterback. For fantasy, it's questionable at this point, and for just real life. I mean, if you're talking a dynasty league, you're not 100% sure that Kirk Cousins is going to be the quarterback for Washington long term. He's on a franchise. There's still talk that they're going through trying to sign that long-term deal, but Washington is not budging right now of overpaying Kirk Cousins an Osweiler contract.
In a dynasty, at least he has the youth. I think Dalton, Cousins, Cutler is how I rank those guys. And so shipping Cutler out seems to be the best mix of risk-reward.
Yeah,
So,
I can agree with that.
All right, Craig has a question. Full point per reception, keeper league, keeping David Johnson in the 6th round and Jordan Reed in the 14th. He has the first pick, so he's all about Antonio Brown with the number 1. But should he consider Le'Veon Bell and have the top 2 running backs?
No, you can consider it. I would
not do that.
Your
I would
full
take
point
Antonio
PPR,
Brown.
go Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and you've already got a running back. I know it seems nice to feel greedy at that position, but it hurts you at running back. And you have, potential top 3 tight end, top 3 running back. Why not grab the number 1 wide receiver?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to mispronounce your name. Howa Vu in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Huavu? Antonio Brown in the 2nd or Gurley in the 5th for a keeper league. Half point per reception.
Oh, but
0.25
per carry?
That's Gurley.
Gurley.
All right, Jamie and Worthing, United Kingdom.
Bonjour,
UK.
Jamie.
I will be drafting and he says bonjour back, by the way.
Yeah.
He'll be drafting in a 13th and a 14-team standard league. He can keep one of the following this season, giving up a position where he drafted him last year. Odell Beckham for a 2, Greg Olsen for a 4, Allen Robinson for a 6, Tyler, as he puts it in, Eifert.
I am an immature boy.
You're laughing. You're chuckling.
That
in the
made me
12th
laugh.
round, Andy Dalton in the 15th. Love the show. Looking forward to withstanding victories with us in 2016.
To me, it's a question of two guys there. It's Odell Beckham or Allen Robinson. And, in a 14-teamer, it would be great to have Beckham, who can finish as the number 1 receiver. But Robinson in the 6th, who is not Odell Beckham, but I think is a very solid 1. So I think, that's so rough, man, to give up Beckham for that value on Robinson. Where are you at?
I'm having a really hard time. Normally it just jumps out at me. I'm trying to weigh everything with it being a 14-team league, where he's drafting at 13 in the first round. Obviously, there are a number of keepers, 12 or I guess 14 on the other teams. I think I take Beckham.
And we're not going to help you, Jamie, because I lean Allen Robinson.
All right. Sorry about that. Hey, if you want to support the show, we've got our Join the Foot Clan live stream later today where you can interact with us. Or wait, was that
we
last
did
night?
that yesterday.
Yeah. This shows you record the show the day before, and I can't remember the time period. Well, you missed it.
What you missed was the best live stream in the history of the internet.
Yeah, I remember everything about it in perfect detail. So it's tonight for us. It's yesterday for you if you're listening to this.
So just get a time machine.
So check it out. Get a time machine. Look, we do it every month is my point. We do the live stream every month for supporters on jointhefoot.com. We got an extra episode every week on jointhefoot.com. And so we've also got a bunch of Foot Clan leagues you can get involved with. Everybody wants to play in a competitive, fun league. And so you can check those out on jointhefoot.com. That is it for today's show. Jason, I hope you get better because I can't do another one of these with just Mike.
What?
It's a problem. It's scary.
It's a great problem to have.
All right, take
More
care, everybody.
Of me.
Enjoy the draft.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.